The Valet was released in 2022. This is directed by Richard Wong. It's written by Bob Fisher and Rob Greenberg, and it's based on The Valet by Francis Weber. And we have a cast including Eugenio Derbez, Samara Weaving, Max Greenfield, and various others. And it sounded really interesting. I read the concept and thought, I'm really keen to see what this is like. And in general, it's okay. There were times when the narrative's maybe a little bit boring, but nothing too severe. But the character of the Valet, and I'll talk more about him in a moment, I really, really loved. So even when the narrative wasn't the strongest, I found that he made it interesting and definitely helped to carry the film. The film is about a character called Olivia who was having an affair with Vincent, and Olivia is an actress, so obviously when somebody takes photographs of her next to Vincent, obviously there's a panic there because people might start to suspect the affair. But it just so happens that the valet, Antonio, happened to be in the photograph as well. And that might sound like a bit of a stretch. How did this happen? Well, the scenario is actually pretty believable as it plays out. And Antonio is ultimately convinced to pretend to be Olivia's romantic interest to take the attention away from the affair. And that's what the film is about. Will they convince people that Antonio is dating Olivia, and will they get away with it? And immediately he starts to go to a lot of events and things accompanying her because obviously she's an actress, quite successful it seems. So it's a very different lifestyle to what he's used to, and his character was just absolutely brilliant, and I really, really loved him. And I found that, as I said, even when the events in the narrative slowed down and they maybe weren't the most fascinating, his character was so great that I really enjoyed following it and following his experience. So I thought it was pretty decent. And of course, the big question is, will anybody ever find out the truth? And of course, I'm not going to answer that, but I will say that in general, I was happy with every aspect of the narrative. I think while there were some bits that were a little slower, in general, the narrative flowed well. The characters were, well, I was going to say the characters are likable. I don't really care for Olivia very much, but Antonio definitely made up for that. I thought he was just brilliant, absolutely loved him, and he definitely made it a more than a watchable film. And it's a pretty fascinating story, and I had no idea where it would go and what would happen, and it's not completely predictable, and I think that works very well. So, in general, I think The Valet is an interesting story, generally well executed, good performances, very good character writing with Antonio. It's not that Olivia is badly written, I don't particularly love her, but Antonio was brilliant. And in general, if it sounds like a film for you, if you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit different and not completely predictable, then I'd say The Valet is definitely one that's worth watching. The technical aspects are very good as well. Lighting, camera work, everything else, very, very well done. Generally well handled narrative, and Antonio is brilliant. So needless to say, I thought The Valet was a pretty good experience, and I'm happy to recommend it.